So we are going to start on some geometry for this section, or for this chapter. So the first bit, a big thing to remember when we are starting the geometry chapters is there's a little bit more to kind of study, to memorize. So make sure that you're paying attention to all the definitions. We're going to end up with postulates and axioms and all kinds of different things that you're going to need to definitely be able to reference to complete some of the problems that we're doing in geometry. So naming segments, lines, and rays. So we're just going to go through and we're going to look at the definitions of these pieces. So a ray has an endpoint that follows a straight path and goes on forever in one direction. So to write the name, we start at the endpoint and move toward the arrow to another point. So here's an example here, and that's why I gave you a spot to draw here so that you can see. So you'd have 2 points. You can have more than 2 points, but at least 2 points to make, connect it into either a line, array, or a segment. So we have an end point, and then we have an arrow. So I start at the end point, and I move to another point. It doesn't matter which other point I move to. There could be, 5 different points on here, as long as the end point is the first one, and then the next piece. Oh, that's interesting. It's animating a little too quickly. The next piece is toward the arrow. And the arrow is always going from left to right. So it doesn't matter if the actual ray is going from left to right. When you draw the little symbol, it's always going from left to right. So just keep that in mind. A line segment has 2 endpoints and follows a straight path. To write the name, we can start at either endpoint and move to the other endpoint. If there is a point in between, that point can also be used. So it's any 2 points in the line. It doesn't need to be the end points, okay? But here we have H and G, so there could be other points in the middle here that we could use. And with this one, it could be HG, or, I didn't do the or, but it could be or GH. Either way, that would be a correct name for this one. And if you notice, there's no arrows on this line. That's identifying that it's a line segment. And this one has the arrow on the one that's identifying its array. This does matter when you're answering questions in ALEKS. You're going to have to choose the correct symbol to go above so that it knows which one you're identifying. Okay, and the last one here is a line follows a straight path and goes on forever in both directions. To write the name, we can use any 2 points on a line. So here we have a line segment going on and on forever, and we have H and we have G. So I was sticking with those 2 points for the whole thing. So I can use HG, I could also use GH, and if you notice, the symbol has the double-sided arrow on it. So definitely make sure you're paying attention to those. So those are our first 3 definitions here: array, a line, line segment, or a line. All right, so now what Alex is going to ask you to do is just choose which type of figure is it, and then how do you write it? Okay, what's the name for it? Okay, so with this one, I can see I have 1 arrow, so that makes it a ray. If you notice, the arrow is going toward the left, so it's going from right to left. Again, when I write the answer on this one, I'm going to start with the end point, and I'm going to move toward the arrow. So I'm going to go HG. And yes, the symbol always goes this way, so it looks like it's going the opposite, but it follows the path, H to G. Okay. This has no arrows on it, the second one. So this is a segment. It's just a piece. We only get to see a little glimpse of the line, right? And I can name it either KJ, or I can flip it around and go JK. Whoops, that was supposed to flip around. Silly me. Some typos here. So I can flip this around and go JK or KJ. Either way would be correct. They're not supposed to be identical there. All right, this has 2 arrows on it. So this is the full line. I'm not looking at just a little piece of it. I'm looking at the entire line. And I can name it either ML, or I can flip that around and say LM. And again, notice the symbols on top. That does matter. You need to make sure that you're choosing the correct symbol. Because even if you choose the correct type and you type in the letters correctly, if you choose the wrong symbol to go above, it will mark you wrong. So make sure you're paying attention. You have a ray for rays, a line segment, no arrows for a line segment, and then a double-sided arrow for a line. Because a line goes on and on forever in both directions. All right, so this was naming figures. Types of lines. So hopefully that helped, and I'll see you in the next video.